Over the last several years, the congregation has undertaken many small projects around the church building that have added up to one great leap forward in accessibility. A new sign was donated to be placed at the roadside. Prior to this, the only sign was not visible to passing traffic. Ramps have been added to both the sanctuary and basement levels. A pew was removed in the sanctuary to accommodate wheelchairs. A new bathroom was installed on the sanctuary level. Several years ago, a closet was converted to a sacristy to better serve the needs of the altar guild and respectfully handling the elements of Holy Communion. Air conditioning was installed in the sanctuary. We want our space to be as inviting as our people. At the present time, we are in the midst of another major change for the physical part of the church. The sanctuary has undergone a major renovation in the chancel area. It began with needs created by the organ project and blossomed into an opportunity to once again revisit our accessibility.
One thing has always impressed me about St. John, and that is that change is not greeted with fear, but as opportunity. Anytime a congregation starts to talk about changing its sanctuary, that creates a lot of anxiety. However, the members of this church have a long history of dealing with change and in the physical needs of the church. Ever since 1907, when this building was constructed, there had been many times along the way when change was needed.
We needed. I remember the first digging out was done on kind of like by hand. You know, it's a lot of going under. They had to put stuff in to hold the floor of the church. And then we had a kitchen and a Sunday school room downstairs. It wasn't a big space. The first year, I think, that I taught over at Middleburg, which would have been 1963. It seemed to me that year more digging was being done. Herb Shirk got in there with equipment, and that was a big job when you think about it.
With the commitment to installing a pipe organ, we were worried about floor strength. That turned out to be okay, but it did mean taking down a couple of levels, which began the process of our sanctuary renovation. Something about this sanctuary renovation project that I think is interesting is that in doing it with mostly volunteer labor from the congregation, we have done it slowly, which has allowed us to make some decisions along the way and see how things work. Without that slow process, I don't know that we would have put in hardwood floors. But because of the ability of people to come in and see the rough wood and hear the difference, we started talking about why not hardwood floors. And so hardwood floors are what we put in, along with a lovely matching rail. Some other changes that we've made along the way here, we removed the lectern, so now the pulpit becomes the single place where the Word of God is read, and there's no separation there. A minor change, but significant. You may note also that we have a freestanding altar, which is currently the one that had been our altar on the third level of the chancel area. It's been pulled out front, but it's a temporary stop. It is going to go back to the wall and serve as a credence table after the installation of our new freestanding altar, which is going to be built by a pastor in our synod, Pastor Erwin Rue, who in addition to being a minister of Word and Sacrament, is also a talented woodworker. And so by the way we've done these changes, I think we have done our best to keep traditions of the old while adding the new. And in that way, it becomes more than symbolic to me that, especially at this 100-year crossroads of our church in this sanctuary, we make changes that look to the future while keeping the best of the past.
Oh, golly. The organ fund goes back, I don't know how many years already. I mean, it's been a long time that we started an organ fund. Probably. I think we had an organ fund before Robert passed away, and that was in 1974. So it's been in the making for quite a while. So finally coming to fruition.
Then in the early 1990s, it was decided by the Worship and Music Committee that the next organ to be placed in St. John Lutheran Church, Richfield, would be indeed a pipe organ, mainly because of the fact that the ceiling height is 16, 17 feet high. and the room is quite live, it would be best to have a pipe organ in this size of an auditorium. Also, because the pipe organ is the church organ. You can spend a lot of money putting a pipe organ in. You can spend, likewise, a lot of money putting in an electronic organ. However, the pipe organ will outlast many, many years the electronic organ. And so that was the decision for that. For about those 20 years, nothing really has been done. There hasn't been a push for it. People gave whenever they felt committed to give, or it just sort of was there and it was accumulating interest in the bank. It wasn't until about 3 years ago when we were hitting a point where I felt that now was the time that we should look into what possibilities we have as to acquiring a pipe organ for this church. There was a committee also established at the time, made up of various people from the church, some from the Worship and Music Committee, some from the Property Committee, and some from non-committee members from the church. Also, varying ages were selected, trying to give some different light to the input needed in making this kind of a decision. For many years also, we've been talking about the possibility of having a freestanding altar, and it was decided that we could combine these two projects together and kill two birds, if you wish, with one stone. So we went that route, and today you see some of the product or the end result of that. When we needed to raise additional funds to complete the project, we needed to raise a total of $43,650. The contract total is $140,000 for this new organ. It's not a new organ in that it's going to be built all from scratch. This organ is in existence. It's a Samuel Bowler organ that was built for the Kissinger Lutheran Church in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. And Samuel Bowler is from Reading, which is near Wyomissing. And it was manufactured in 1904. So it's roughly now 103 years old.